Hey y'all, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Peace Podcast. This is just let me embrace my vulnerability, whatever that looks like. And I think that we live in a society, in a world where we view being 100% vulnerable as a weakness. Like, we can't let other people see our tell signs. We can't let other people see our cards. We don't want to reveal exactly who we are because, one, we're afraid of being that vulnerable, and two, we don't trust that people aren't going to use it as ammunition for something else. But vulnerability is not weakness. In fact, research shows that it's the gateway to connection. You know, you can't truly connect with someone if you are presenting yourself as this perfect representative. No one feels true connection with that person. Have you ever been in a room where you are around people who are so busy trying to shine a spotlight on their accolades that they are incapable of feeling close to you? Like you can't quite put your finger on why you don't feel connected to them, why though they work in the same workplace as you don't truly feel like you guys are able to build a friendship. It can happen in friendships, it can happen in romantic relationships where you can tell that somebody is putting a facade over what's happening. They're wearing masks. And so in turn, it makes you feel like, well, they don't fully trust me, because if they did, they would take down that mask. And because they don't, we can't build true connection. But aren't we walking around doing that too? It's like we want to feel connected to people, but we think that vulnerability is weak so that we can't gain that true connection. But to be vulnerable is to get that connection. It shows courage, but it also shows emotional resilience, because you can connect with people on the mistakes that you've made and the problems that you are currently sitting in. And you can show them that no, you aren't perfect in that space, but that you've been resilient and that you have tenacity. So why do people hide their true selves? How do we embrace that vulnerability safely? Because we can't just be vulnerable with everybody. And how do we show up fully without being afraid? It's not easy, because again, we live in this society and we come from systems where we have only been able to show pieces of us, the pieces that are the most acceptable, the pieces that other people actually want to see. And sometimes we can't even shift from being fully ourselves, shift from that level of perfection to being fully ourselves, because we don't think that people are going to accept us for any of our flaws. But studies have shown that vulnerability fosters trust, creativity, and authentic connection. Brené Brown has done some extensive studies on belonging, and what she was able to find and what surfaced for the people in the studies is that you may have more people around you when you wear the mask and when you have the facade. You may have more people who are in conversation with you, though probably fake conversation, but in conversation with you when you show the perfect version of yourself. But the true connection, the one that feels trusting, happens when you are able to take down that mask and truly just be yourself. Because if you connect with people without vulnerability, then it's a fake connection, because you're not able to fully connect with them. You know, there have been times where I've been in conversation with friends and I've said something or done something and then I've apologized for it later. Maybe I got really excited, maybe I let a curse word slip or whatever it is, and I apologize later. And the people who love me and truly value me as a person because I am vulnerable with them will be like, why are you apologizing for something that was, a slip of the tongue? Or why are you apologizing because you didn't show up as the perfect version of you? Like, I like all versions of you and I accept all versions of you. And I've learned to do that too. Like, if I'm in conversation with a friend and I know that they're frustrated or angry, I hold space for behaviors that might come out because of that frustration or anger, and understand that they're being vulnerable in that moment. And it might not be pretty, but we are connected in such a way that they can be safe being authentically themselves. Sometimes, though, we let shame and a fear of judgment keep us from expressing that vulnerability. We think that people are going to think we're a bad person. We've been told that we were bad in the past because of something we might have said or done. And so we keep those pieces of us inside. We sometimes even feel as if what we're experiencing is unique to our situation. So the way our kids are treating us, the arguments we're getting in with our spouse, we think that that is only happening to us. So we don't become vulnerable because we don't think that people will truly understand if we show them our frustration, if we show them our hurt, if we show them what's actually going on in our lives. But I can tell you, for the most part, every time I've shared a truly authentic story about what's going on with me, every time I've said, I'm not really sure why I'm doing this, but I need you to hear me out as a friend in this situation. Every time I've done that, the person that I have shared it with, and it hasn't been the same person every time, has had a same moment. Like, they'll say, yep, totally get it, have had this happen to me before, completely understand where you're coming from, all because I'm not alone in that space. But I didn't know that they experienced it too, because we didn't open up and create vulnerability around what's actually happening in our lives. And when we are able to be vulnerable, we are also able to increase our emotional intelligence, and therefore our relationships strengthen, because we can see a person coming as the fake or curated version of themselves. And we can say, this is a safe space. You can share exactly how you feel. You can share exactly what happened. There's no judgment here. And we can create a landing space that isn't so rough for them, so that they're actually able to show up as their full authentic selves. We can say, I hold space for this person to show up in a vulnerable state, even if I don't agree with them. Even if I don't feel the exact same way that they feel about this situation, I'm going to hold space for them to have the emotions they have, to feel the way they feel. And I'm going to keep that space safe for them with no judgment and no opposition, because I want them to continue to be vulnerable. See, sometimes we'll say, oh, well, this person doesn't share any of their feelings. They never open up to me. But when they do open up to you, when they are vulnerable to you, you are combative to them. And when you're combative to somebody who has a really hard time opening up and being vulnerable, they're not going to want to do it again, because it took a lot of effort for them to be vulnerable in the first place. Much like when you're vulnerable with people when that's uncomfortable. Like, I know for me, the perfectionism feelings run strong in spaces where I could be authentic and vulnerable, where I could share what's actually going on with me. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, but then they're not going to view me as perfect. The reality is they don't view you as perfect anyway, because they know you're human, but also it doesn't benefit you to show up as a perfect version of yourself, because people can't connect with perfection because they know it's not real. One, it makes them feel insecure about themselves, but two, it makes them feel like you don't trust them enough to be fully vulnerable with them. And so therefore you can't strengthen a relationship when it's built on a foundation of falsehoods, of showing up as a person that you think that they would accept more, not necessarily a person that is true. And people want people around them who are true and real and 100% themselves. And when you think about, even on social media, when you think about the people that you like to follow, the people that you like to watch their videos, it's probably because they're more authentic. They share the real deal. They're not sugarcoating things. When you think about the people that you want to be in friendship with, it's probably the people who are most authentic or who allow you to be the most authentic. You should not have to craft an image to be around people. You should be able to show up in sweatpants, no makeup, and hair in a messy bun, and also your cute dress with your heels with that same group of people, and they see you as you because you're fully able to exist. Because when your nervous system has been in a space where you've had to fake it for so long, you will absolutely be able to tell the difference in how it responds differently when you are safely in a space where you can share real emotions, feel regulated, and then develop some resilience around that regulation, because you don't have to fight so hard, right? Like when you show up as that tailored version of yourself, you want to be seen, but you don't really fully want to be seen because you don't want to be judged. And your fear is that if you're seen, then you're going to be judged. But then also you're fighting against being seen, but you're fighting for having connection and for people to truly see you because you want to be seen and held for who you are. And your nervous system is exhausted. But once you're able to say, I am no longer willing to walk in spaces where I have to pretend to be approved of in that space, I'm going to fully show up as the real version of myself. Once you commit to that and you show up as you, and you show up with the perfectionism left at the door, with the fear left at the door, you will start to realize that your authentic connections actually feel authentic. Because your fear is going to keep you small. It's going to tell you that you can only show small pieces of yourself, because if you show those large pieces, then somebody might actually see you, and that is scary because you don't want them to see all of the pieces of you. But if you're able to embrace your vulnerability, be whole in who you are, that is courageous. That is saying, if I go into the space and I'm not accepted, then I don't belong in the space. And if I go into the space and I am accepted, I'm going to be fully who I am in that space. I'm not going to shrink to fit into that space. And that unlocks a level of freedom that you do not feel when you're faking who you actually are. And I'm not talking about some vulnerability on some, I want people to feel sorry for me, so I'm going to always play the victim. That's not vulnerability. That is needing to play the victim so that people will feel emotionally sorry for you. Like, I know that I already said that, but also that's the way that you create connection, because you don't think you can create true connection by just being yourself. So there has to be something wrong with you so that you can gain sympathy from these people, so that they will have an emotional reaction to you, as opposed to just creating a connection with them in the first place. I'm not talking about that type of vulnerability, because that's not true vulnerability. It's hiding behind the facade of victimhood. I'm also not talking about some, I am who I am, so people just have to accept me for who I am, though I'm bleeding my toxicity all over people. That's not what I'm talking about either, because if you're being toxic, it is not okay to just bleed that toxicity all over people and just say, I'm doing it in the name of authenticity. That's not authentic, because if that's what you're doing, then it is a defense mechanism against something. What I'm saying is that you've been hiding yourself from the world under perfectionism, under your shame, under your people pleasing, under all of these things that you have been conditioned to believe through childhood. And it's now time to say, if I'm hurt, I'm going to say it. If I'm frustrated, I'm going to tell people. This is not my get out of being a toxic person free card, but it is an opportunity for me to connect with people on a very real level that, hey, you're not the only one that this is happening to. Hey, you're not the only one that feels this way. And also, I'm not the only one who can be feeling this. Like, there are people that I can connect with who know exactly what this is like. So if you want to open up the strength of vulnerability today and be 100% authentically you, here is a practical takeaway. So this week, share one authentic feeling with a safe person. Make sure it's a safe person, because if you share it with somebody who's not safe, then you're going to feel rejected. But don't over-explain. Don't apologize for what happened. Just share something with them. Share how it made you feel. And then notice how it feels to simply be seen 100% for who you are. Jot that down in your journal. Explain what you shared, explain how it felt to be seen, and explain what it is that you let go of and left at the door before you shared that thing in order for you to be fully vulnerable. Because that is going to be the way that you break free from the bondage of continuing to show up as this curated version of yourself because you're afraid that people aren't going to be able to connect and accept the authentic version of you. Tell you that God created that authentic version of you, so he knows exactly where you're supposed to show up, exactly how you're supposed to show up, and exactly who needs you to be there. So hopefully this video helped you to see that. If you could share this video, go to my socials, like and subscribe to those pages, follow me on there so that you can get more of this knowledge. And please share it with somebody that you think that it would resonate with, because we know that knowledge gained and kept to ourselves is selfish, but shared with the world could just be the catalyst that they need to break free from the bondage that they're in and surrender the things that they need to turn over to God. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.